Hey there guys, so today I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's video where I'm going to be going over the topic that of course is over why you should train body weight first rather than just jumping into weightlifting itself. So before I do get started with discussing this topic and explaining why this is important to keep in mind as you're getting started with a workout routine, I want to mention a few things. So if you're interested in learning more about what I offer related to online fitness coaching, I do have a website that is bponlinefitness.com. I have it updated pretty often and I always upload to my blog on there, which you can check out, as well as checking out the latest live stream, which is on the homepage. You can also sign up to the email list where I send out an email newsletter each and every Monday. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely check that out. It's free for you to access. So with all that being said, guys, I want to go ahead and get going with talking about why you should focus on body weight based movements first. So when it comes to body weight based movements, there are many different aspects of these workouts to keep in mind. So one thing to be aware of, and one thing I do want to mention when we're talking about body weight based movements, is whenever I start to train clients, a lot of times I'll focus them on stability endurance. In the NASM OPT model, which is where I am certified through as far as NASM, that's how I do my programming for clients. So in the OPT model, the first phase that you would go through in building a structured workout routine is the stabilization endurance phase. And this sort of mimics the same topic that I'm talking about today, which is on body weight based exercise. So with stability endurance, what you're going to be focusing on primarily is really engaging with body weight based exercises. You are focusing on body weight movements and not using a ton of weightlifting. You may do some light weightlifting based exercises, but when you're focusing on stabilization endurance, the main focus is to master the basic movement patterns that can help to prepare you for the more extensive weightlifting based exercises. So that's what you need to keep in mind when we're talking about this topic, is that when you're doing body weight movements, it's helping you to sort of build that foundation and that base for preparing to do weightlifting exercises. It also helps with learning how to train your core more often in workouts, which is another crucial part of a weightlifting routine, and weightlifting in general is learning how to engage your core as much as possible to help with stability throughout each and every lift that you perform. So what we're doing when we're starting with bodyweight movements is that we're basically building that base to prepare for all of the other exercise phases that we're going to go through and all the other overall exercises that are going to involve weightlifting movements. Some of the movements that you will master when you're performing bodyweight movements are basically roughly 5 different movements. You're going to think about doing squat-based movements, learning how to hip hinge, as well as pushing and pulling based movements. So when you're doing bodyweight workouts, you're going to basically have all of these movements that you're going to work with, and of course mastering those movements before you get going with that further weightlifting. Now each exercise is going to have, of course, a different sort of technique and form that you focus on. But one thing you need to keep in mind is that the universal point for each exercise is that engagement of the core is crucial. Having a neutral spine, keeping yourself upright throughout the workout, is crucial as well. And what this is doing is helping to make you more mindful on how you're performing the workout. Again, that's another thing that's important when we're focusing on really building that base, is that when we do movements that are about body weight, we have more time to think about how we're going throughout the movement. If we're intentionally engaging the muscle properly, if we're going through the form properly. So when we don't have excessive weight that we're lifting or any kind of weight we're lifting, it gives us more time to sort of shift our focus on, am I performing this correctly? Am I doing this movement correctly? And really just building that base over that time is going to help as we press forward. Now, keep in mind, it's really helpful that when you get started to sort of stay in this sort of stabilization phase for roughly 4 weeks. 4 weeks is a good starting point, and then from there you would gradually progress. Of course, there's so much more that I could explain about progression as it relates to a workout routine, but just know that when you're doing this sort of base set of exercises, these bodyweight exercises, it's going to easily help you to slowly transition into that more strength endurance based workouts. When you get going with performing bodyweight movements, like I mentioned just a moment ago, is that when you're doing these workouts, it really is going to help with you thinking about mind-muscle connection. And mind-muscle connection is basically really being intentional on how you're performing the workout. Like I just mentioned, basically asking yourself the question, if I'm doing the proper form, am I, doing the proper movement and technique for this workout. It's really being mindful on what you're doing. It's basically like integrating mindfulness into your workout. That's the way that I like to describe it in more simple and easy to understand terms. So when you're doing these workouts, one thing that's important with bodyweight movements is to focus on slow movement. Now, slow movement, of course, is crucial outside of bodyweight movements, and it transitions into weightlifting. But getting started when you're doing bodyweight movements and getting started with your routine, slowing down the reps is going to really help to make you aware on how you are engaging that muscle. When you slow down the reps, it activates the muscle for an extended period of time, and it's going to give you the awareness on if you're targeting that muscle. You're going to fully know if you're targeting a muscle when you feel that tension. Like, for example, when we're talking about deadlifts is different than when we're talking about a squat. With a squat, you are lowering down. With a deadlift, you're doing more of a hinge-based movement. So with the hinge movement, you're going to feel the hamstrings. As you're doing that movement enough, you're going to feel that those hamstrings are being engaged. Again, the hamstrings are the under portion of the legs. So when you feel that, you're going to know that it's being engaged. The same with the squats. A lot of times with squat-based movements, you're going to feel the quads working. The quads are going to be the top portion of your legs. However, of course, with squats, multiple muscle groups of the legs are being engaged. But the primary muscle that you're going to feel the most is the quads. So as you're feeling that tension in that muscle, you're going to know that it's effectively being targeted. And that's when, when you're slowing down your reps, when you're focusing on, counting your reps, like doing a tempo of 3 seconds as you're going through that lowering phase, that's going to help you to intentionally focus on how you are performing the workout and how you are engaging that muscle. Alrighty guys, so I hope that you found this helpful and valuable, and I hope that this gave you insight on how you can approach body weight based movements for a beginner and just for starting exercises as you are sort of building out a workout routine. Again guys, check out my website, which is bponlinefitness.com, and feel free to check out all the free resources that I offer. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it helpful, and also leave a comment if you have any questions on anything I discussed. I really, want to thank you guys for taking the time to check this out. Feel free to reach out if you want any help or advice as it relates to fitness, nutrition, or recovery. So I'm looking forward to sharing some new information with you guys in the future. And if you do want to check out some of my other videos, feel free to do that. I do have some live streams that I've archived of some Facebook live streams I've done, as well as some short form videos that will show you a little bit about how to perform specific exercises. So definitely check those out if you're interested. But thank you guys once again. I hope you found this helpful and valuable, and I will see you guys in the next one.